technology that people talk about under the Sphinx. When people try to locate where this looking glass is, they find it about a mile deep underneath the Vatican. The inverted pyramid, there always seems to be an as above, so below system going on in Egypt. So there's so many potentials. So if the comet's tail triggers a solar event, then it will dismantle our toroidal veil and everyone will see into all the dimensions at once. That will shift all of our belief systems and it will splinter into these 3 different timelines. Will be the most beautiful one, the one where we clean up our oceans and we speak telepathically again. And then the middle one goes, and that's one of the reasons why we have things like fallen angels.
So, there's a lot of people who claim that Dolores is currently incarnated.
When I've asked her when under hypnosis and spoken directly to Dolores, she said that she's been
Ultra minds, ultra minds, ultra minds, ultra JK, ultra. Ultra minds, ultra minds, ultra minds, ultra JK, ultra.
Hello and welcome to Ultra Minds with JK Ultra. And I have a very special guest this week, a dear friend, and also one of the most genuine, authentic people that I have met in this whole spiritual space, and the world's leading QHHT practitioner, Sarah Breskman Cosme. Hello.
Oh my gosh, what an introduction. That's so nice. Thank you.
So, I do want to kind of talk a little bit about how, before I start asking you some questions, is that you are truly one of like the angels of these conferences and spiritual spaces and all of these collaborations and things that you do. I feel like you are just one of the most genuine, authentic people, and you really come in and are so pure and shine your light in all of these different spaces.
Oh, that's so nice. I really think that like the biggest currency that we have is our authenticity. I feel like people can just see through all the crap now. And I think the people that are just pretending to, you know, be something or do something, we're all waking up and we can all see it. And plus, I think all of us, like you too, who really care and who are doing this to help all of us, we're all in this together, that people can tell. And I mean, it's nice of you to say that. I really do want to help people.
You're so genuine, and also you are a best-selling author. Okay, so we have your Hypnotist Journey series, with the newest one being a Hypnotist Journey to Avalon. But you also have these other bestsellers, which is To Atlantis, The Secrets of the Sphinx, and The Trail to the Star People. So I want to ask you, I would like to get into Avalon, but first I want to ask a little bit about some hidden technologies that have come up in either the Sphinx or Atlantis, and some of the things that either hidden technologies that can still be activated or will be activated in the coming years.
Oh, yes. So there is one technology that people talk about under the Sphinx that was like this scrying lens. So it looked black and it looked like kind of like an onyx or something, that when people were looking under the Sphinx, this used to be there, but it would hold a record of everything that has ever happened here and all the wars. I mean, all the wars that people souls have been a part of. And it's like a looking glass. But see, it works with your own energetic system. So it would work with your body and all your DNA, and that would activate this looking glass. When people try to locate where this looking glass is, they find it about a mile deep underneath the Vatican. There's a lot
Whoa.
underneath the Vatican that people locate. Like when I have people deep under hypnosis looking at like where is this technology, they'll find it in really strange places. Like under the ocean, there's actually a place, like there must be a base close to where I live in the Florida Keys. Then they'll find it like underneath certain parks. It seems like underneath all these parks are these like facilities where they store information. But a lot of humanity's treasure that also contains some ancient artifacts that you would consider to be technology. People locate these that we will get very soon on this island in Canada. It's about like miles and miles deep off of an island in Nova Scotia. That technology is like amazing. Then there's galactic technology people talk about that are it's like in another plane. Like there's this in people's subconscious, they talk about sometimes their soul would go to this crystal healing planet, and you have to be of a certain vibration, and your soul, your ethereal body would go there and travel once you hit this certain frequency. And in this crystal planet, it would just download you, heal you, it would soothe you, prepare you for your journey. And that technology seemed very real because a lot of my clients talk about it. Then there's like, the technology that we have here already and people don't talk about it, like these frequency techniques, learning how to, heal with sound. I mean, there's so much. I could probably go on and on about,
Wow.
this stuff.
And so also, so it's interesting in some of my QHHT sessions, people have also mentioned something about underneath the Sphinx that there's like a library of all these records. So it's interesting that you're bringing that up. And, also kind of this things in another plane where some of these places like Atlantis, and also what has come up in some of my sessions is that the Library of Alexandria didn't burn in another timeline and it still exists in another dimension, similar to Atlantis existing still in another
Yeah.
dimension. So, what do you know about that type of stuff? About like these places that fell in this reality, but didn't fall in like another reality?
Yes, that is so amazing to me because that also is true for Mars. So as we raise our vibration and we align with the timeline, especially this beautiful ascension timeline, one of the first things we'll notice, according to people's higher selves, is that we'll start to see things that in their most ideal form. Like the Sphinx will look totally different. The pyramids will be fully functional again. We'll see that Mars is fully, beautiful and lush, because we are just shifting into this other timeline. So it's interesting because people on Mars that didn't finish like I guess their timeline of the 3D reality, a lot of them came here, but there's another reality and timeline where they shifted. And people have noticed this. So it's so wild to see that. And yes, underneath the Sphinx, people talk about the records and these light codes. And apparently their physical replications of those are not there. Well, I haven't seen them, but they're there. Their light codes are there. There's a whole library there. And it comes off of the ground about 1.5 feet off the ground sometimes with these light codes, and it works with your own DNA and your own chakra system. So, there's so many people that would like to get a hold of certain things, but you can't. It doesn't work that way. Everything, like in these ancient times, would work with a person's DNA with their own chakra system. So it's the right person with the right bloodline, with the right chakra systems would be able to touch this and would unlock all this information.
And so you also do journeys to Egypt, to the Sphinx. You take people on these initiations, really.
Yeah.
And I so want to go with you one day. And
Have to
also,
go.
it's so amazing. I know multiple people that have gone with you and they had the best time ever. And, so like what type of things, like I know, like obviously you guys get this like really cool access into certain chambers because you have this small group and you guys have great connections there. But like, what type of things happen to people who maybe have past lives there or have connections to there or have the ability to access these codes or it's in their DNA? Like, what type of things have you noticed or heard of on your journeys there?
Oh my gosh. I mean, people will all of a sudden spontaneously heal themselves. That happened. That happens. One person started communicating with Isis at the Isis temple and just has ever since just been a channel for that beautiful consciousness. People seem to make a deep connection to like not only the consciousness that they get in touch with there, like even SecMed, or they just get in touch with other parts of themselves. But I did have this one client who, under hypnosis, couldn't go into the Valley of the Kings. There was something that happened to them um, when they started going into like this one tomb, and they had to turn back and just sit out for a little while because they were so overwhelmed with this energy. And what they realized was in a past life, they had been a water bearer for one of the pharaohs that was buried in that particular tomb. And the pharaoh recognized that person's soul as the water bearer. It's like the places that you go into has a very high consciousness because of where it's built, you know, where it's located. And so it's like you go into these places and the veil is a lot thinner. So you're able to connect not only with your higher self, but the consciousness and the memories and the past of these places. So it was really interesting because the places have a consciousness, so they recognize you. And it's almost like you're coming home. A lot of people feel like they're like, oh, I've been here before. You can kind of feel into the places. But yes, we keep it very intimate. I don't want to take like a big group because I want everyone to have a very wonderful, you know, intimate experience, and where they get a lot of attention, you know, and they just can really feel free to relax. They're taken care of and really absorb and receive these messages and do meditations in these places.
Yeah, I definitely wanna come, and because I feel like, you're, like, the perfect person to go with. You know, a lot of people do these initiations and voyages to Egypt, and everybody has their own, like, person that they resonate with who is to take them. But, when I looked at yours, I'm like, "Oh, yeah, this is, like, the person to go with." Like, I'm maybe next year when you do it, maybe I'll do it then. So, what are some of the things about Egypt, the Sphinx, that you've learned from going there through your sessions that are kind of contradictory to the mainstream idea or narrative of what these places actually, maybe what the historians believe they are, and then what you've discovered?
Oh my gosh, so much, so much. I mean, because people will describe them as being tombs and they're just anything but. I mean, there's like sacred initiation rites of passages, and they're like places to actually reconnect with your star family, you know, who you really are. You can find out so much about yourself just from by going into one of these sacred places where the veil is so much thinner. It's like we call it the easy ascension path to go to these places in Egypt because you're just downloaded with so much. And even just touching these places activates things within your energetic body. But in people's memories, they remember like going into places like the Great Pyramid and just throughout all of history that it was never really used as a tomb. I mean, they remember doing sacred initiation processes where they would raise their frequency by cultivating. Well, they would do this type of meditation that would bring them into like a kind of, I guess you would call it like a gamma frequency, just this really high vibration. And because of the resonance with the materials in that sarcophagus in the Great Pyramid, it would bounce off their energy. It was built in that way to do that. It would use their energy, it would pop them out of their body. And then they could go speak with like their ancestors and be downloaded with information that was then used as like, you know, the secret mystery teachings. And then people remember that they used to be like there used to be water flowing under most of these places in the pyramids, and it would create this energetic system to actually harness the energy in different ways. Some people remember they would use it for necromancy, bringing things back from the dead. All kinds of interesting things. Or they would wait for the water to go underneath or through the pyramid, and then they would drink it. And this water was super high vibrational. It would be able to heal a lot of different things. People remember doing all kinds of sacred ceremonies, and they understood that they could connect to their crown chakra together as a group in a circle inside the pyramids. And by focusing on this light above their heads, they could shoot it up through the pyramids, and then it would come up and go out into like a different plane, and then it would shoot back down and go underneath into the inverted pyramid. There always seems to be an as above, so below system going on in Egypt. So all pyramids, according to like my clients under hypnosis, form the shape of a Merkaba. So there's pyramids all over this galactic plane or earth, whatever you want to call this realm. All the pyramids form a Merkaba shape, just like we have a Merkaba shape in our bodies. So as we're moving through this ascension program, our bodies, our Merkabas are lighting up, and the same will happen when we do that final shift into this other dimension, apparently, where all the pyramids will light up, and it will help work with our realm and move us up into a new realm, apparently.
Wow, it's so exciting. Okay,
Yeah.
so some of the other things, so some of the hypnosis clients that I've done, when they go to Egypt, they talk about like an anti-aging technology and how basically they would reverse age themselves into a time in their like 30s, although they would be 500 years old or something like that. So what have you come across with information like about that type of stuff?
Oh, I love that because, I always want to know these things too. And people ask all the time. Um, that's phenomenal because I know that, and I'll have to listen to your session because that sounds so cool. But I know that even in Atlantis, they were using many different methods to look younger, to live longer. They wanted to live forever, really. And even some of these other versions of ourselves in other places that you would say were extraterrestrial, possibly, they developed different ways to live longer. But a lot of the information that I've learned about how to live longer, how to look younger, and things like that came from Atlantis, where we just understood that we could visualize ourselves to look a certain way at one particular point. And then we just got too lazy with technology, and it was easy to like regrow organs, kind of too easy to change our appearance like that. But in the early times, it seems like we were very adept at understanding visualization, that everybody could do this. That was something that was easy for us to accomplish, that we understood that if we visualized a certain look for ourselves, or we visualized something, that would come to fruition. We've just lost that ability over the years.
And so actually when we were in Vegas together, maybe 2023, when I saw him, like, damn, Sarah, you look so good. And then you mentioned that you had actually been doing a breath work technique
Oh
that
yeah,
can make
you.
you, can change your body, can make you lose weight, can reverse age.
Oh my God, I do this every morning and every night because I'm 50. So I feel like, getting older. But this has helped me tremendously. I mean, people ask me like, what do I do? It's so simple. I think for me, my biggest well, still is, and I have to do this breath work technique, is that I'll go places and I'll suck in everybody's issues. I'll be like in the grocery store and I won't realize it till after. And then I'll think, oh, I feel like this isn't even mine. So what I do is I do 30 breaths, Kalabati breathing. You can Google it. If I am dealing with something that's really upsetting me, of course, I'll do more than 30. But I just, in general, in the morning, I'll do 30. And some people call it breath of fire. And it's like, I use it with the intention of getting out any stagnant energy that's not mine. So I'm just very intentional about it. So I'll do 30 of those. And then I'll brush myself off like this. Like I'll literally just like brush myself off with the intention that I'm getting anything off of me that I picked up, and then I'll shake it out. And so I do that every morning and every night. And if you Google Kalabati breathing, it actually shows that it's a weight loss technique. It's so powerful. But like I said, if I'm really, like if I'm upset about something, or if I've taken something and I can't seem to release it the way I normally would, I would do more breathing, more breathing breaths.
And so on the topic of weight, so I've been lucky enough to go under hypnosis with you 2 times, and those people can watch them on YouTube, on both of our YouTubes, split up. And so one of the things that came up in kind of the personal part of my hypnosis was like, why had I gained weight? And it was talking about like really like protecting myself. And after we had gotten to kind of what I was protecting myself from, then you're like, well, then can you release it? And it said, yeah, it'll release it. Gave me a couple of things to kind of do after that. And literally the next day when I got on the scale, I was 8 pounds less in one freaking day. So, what's crazy is like really like how, and I'm sure, people hear this a lot and people have very mixed feelings about it because not everybody's in like a place to receive the information, but how much these things that are manifesting in our physical body is actually connected to like thoughts, feelings, emotions. So what type of medical things or health type of things do you see coming up a lot with people that maybe they don't realize is connected to some thoughts or feelings or limiting beliefs?
Well, I feel like all of it is. I feel like it's all our thoughts. I mean, really, whenever a really high level being, or I just call them high level because they're connected to a person's higher self, comes in, they'll say that throughout this whole galactic plane, the awakened human is the most powerful being in the whole universe. So that means we're sitting on this power. We just don't know how to use it. So things like visualization, intention, focus, it's extremely powerful. And that's one of the reasons why we have things like fallen angels, because apparently, according to my clients, they're like buffers because of our manifestation. Our manifestations can go so dark if we're not careful. So they buffer because we are that powerful. We just don't know it. And we're like dumbed down so we don't just like blow ourselves up with our manifestations.
And so with the fallen angel thing, is that like these are the entities that people believe them to be, or like we're fallen angels,
No.
or?
Oh, okay. So the fallen angels are the beings that people believe them to be. They're not really what people believe. They're actually angels that have just agreed to be buffers for our manifestations, to kind of guard us from going too low in negativity. It's really interesting. But I feel like everything is a manifest, and any physical illness is because of our thoughts, because of what we're creating, everything. I mean, even like thyroid, people are having a lot of issues with thyroid issues right now, which is really connected to people finding their voice again and speaking up and sharing what, these deeper truths. Yes, we have a lot of horrible like environmental issues going on too. I mean, there's so much poison and stuff. But when people are under hypnosis, they find all the time that our thoughts are way more powerful than environment. So you literally could heal yourself if you pray over your food, or you do things to where you're like really tuning into your body. I created an easy class that's pretty cheap for people so they could go through like their issues and heal themselves. It's on my website. It's called Heal Yourself with Self Hypnosis, because I know that people can't always afford, to get a session, or they don't always, have the resources. So this way they can just be in the comfort of their own home and figure these things out for themselves. But I mean, I feel like the body is very literal, and it's just giving people signs that are literal according to whatever is happening with their body. Like usually eyesight, if they're having an issue with their eyes, it's things they don't want to see clearly, or maybe they don't want to see too close, or maybe they don't want to look into the future. I mean, everything is so literal, everything. Even looking at your feet, if you have issues with your feet, it could be stability, or it could be moving in the right direction, or something from the past is holding you back. And like this is just an example. I had this client, and she came in for a session, and this is years ago. Was years ago, and she had just started this cleaning business. And all of a sudden she was so excited. So she started this cleaning business, and she put all her cards out, and she told everyone, and it was going to be her first real business. She was excited to make money. And all of a sudden her shoulder just like seized up, and she couldn't use her right shoulder. And of course, that's what she uses to clean. So she had a session with me, and under hypnosis, her higher self said, "Oh yeah, we gave her that shoulder injury." I was like, "What? Why would you do that?" And they said, "Because she told us before coming into this life that if she gets off her path, she wants a very clear sign. And this is her sign. She's not supposed to be doing this cleaning job. She's supposed to be a singer. Her voice will help heal people. We've been putting people in front of her. We've been trying to show her signs. We just don't understand what could possibly stop her in her tracks aside from this, that would make her do this. I mean, we've been telling her, we've been coincidentally, everyone she knows is in a band. I mean, she could just start today." And so I got all the information they wanted to share with her as to how to really go about it, what exactly she needed to do. And then they healed it for her, because they said if she starts today and she starts a singing career, she won't have to worry about her shoulder hurting her at all. I saw her in the grocery store next to my house, and she was in a sling. And I was like, "Oh no, what happened?" She's like, "Well," and this is what she said too. She goes, "I guess it didn't work. I just got to, I don't know, it healed, but then I just felt really nervous about starting the singing business. So then I just went back to cleaning because I was worried. I didn't know if I would make money from singing." And I reminded her, I said, "Listen to your recording again, because remember, your higher self said that you needed to start. They told you that you had all these people that were in a band that actually could play all the music, that all you needed to do was just go to this venue that they even talked about and start." And she's like, "Yeah, well, I was just a little nervous. And so, I'm just going to keep cleaning." So I saw her at the grocery store again. And this time she had just had surgery. And she said, "It just didn't get any better. I just don't know what to do now. My left shoulder is starting to hurt."
Oh my goodness.
So, I mean, really, that's how our bodies communicate with us. And it's just helping us. I mean, it's an instrument to help us really align with our path.
And so that is probably, I mean, obviously with the QHHT, the most important question that is suggested that people ask is, what is your purpose in this lifetime? And, usually the purpose is not a job, a career. It's usually to help someone or help yourself through this, or to experience through this. And so, but people have this inclination of what they see themselves doing, which is a version of that purpose. So, what do you think is kind of the advice for people like that? Because time and time again, people, most of the time they go under hypnosis, they already know what they're meant to be doing because they already feel inclined towards it. But then, self doubt, self worth issues, other people's voices, old stories get in the way of them actually stepping into that. So, what advice do you have for people that kind of know what they need to be doing with or without hypnosis, but they have all that fear and guilt and, oh, this couldn't work for me? What do you think is the way to really get on that path?
Well, I think you're not, I mean, really, it seems like people aren't really doing anything good for themselves or doing any service for themselves by not doing it. I mean, it's It is so challenging and scary sometimes, especially if you know deep down that you are meant to be almost like be someone you're not. And it can be so challenging because you're trying to hide who you really are and you don't want to take that first step. And like maybe it's just like coming out of the spiritual closet or something like that. And just, some of my clients are asked even to just talk to other people on the street, or a lot of people are being asked to love themselves. Like some people come into this life to learn self-love or to learn things like that. And that is their purpose. I mean, it's everything in the universe is pushing us into alignment. I think right now, especially, whatever it is that you're hiding from yourself is in your face. It used to be you could hide it in the closet a lot easier. But now with all these energies, it's really, really challenging because it's like anything you pushed away is like right there staring at you. Like, okay, it's now or never. You have to do these things. You have to work on yourself, basically. A lot of people though are really here just to like spread their light, and they don't really even have to do many things. But I think one telltale sign you can tell what it is that you're really meant to be doing is to look at your deepest trauma. Usually whatever that is related to your purpose. Like for me, I was one of those people that everyone felt sorry for. I was really overweight. I had phobias and fears, and I had to overcome those things myself. And so by overcoming them, then now I share all about like what I'm learning, because I had that, trauma. And I think everybody, if they look back on their biggest traumas and their hardships, can figure out what they are meant to be doing, or what, even if it's like you lost all love for yourself, that could be your purpose, because your purpose is to regain that love. Or you grew up in a family where there was no love because you wanted to learn what a real family was, or, real relationships and things like that.
Right. And so, a lot of times in session, I'll ask, like, what is the greatest lesson that they're meant to learn in this lifetime? And it is always like, oh, well, of course, you only dealt with this trauma for 30 years, 40 years. Of course, this is the biggest lesson. Like, say, a lot of like rejections and things like that, and like rejection in love, in work, in romance, like rejection pattern, for example, then it's like part of their purpose will be, and it's kind of how it's all connected. Like the purpose will be like, oh, they're actually supposed to help empower people. So their greatest lesson was to overcome these rejections and to truly learn how to empower themselves. And then kind of like what's in astrology too, with like Chiron being like the wounded healer, and how everyone's like greatest gift to the world is kind of the wound that they have themselves, and how they heal it then becomes their service to others.
Oh, I love it. I think the more we allow ourselves to surrender to the flow of what we're actually here for, the easier. So many of us just feel in a constant battle state, and we just think we're battling against everything that's happening to us, but really it's just a teacher. And we're supposed to just surrender and just allow this flow, allow these teachings, and try to get out of our own way and not make it mean something it doesn't. I mean,
Mhm.
it's we're complicating it.
Right. So, your newest book, A Hypnotist's Journey to Avalon, I've heard is your greatest book so
That's
far.
oh my
So,
gosh.
can you tell us some of your favorite things that you learned through those sessions connected to Avalon?
Oh my gosh. It was just so mind-blowing because I never know what I will be writing about next. And this just came to me like all the other books. This information is so needed. So basically what it is basically a reconnection with nature and our divine aspects, that all humans have magical capabilities and we actually can access magic. Like even the elementals are the guardians of nature's magic. And the ancient people understood that they could work with the guardians of nature to produce certain crops. There's so much about the ancient ways that we just have forgotten or we just don't talk about. And this is making a resurgence again through the subconscious memories. And so I feel like it was really important not only to understand the truth about the elementals and about how they're all around and about magic and how we can connect with magic, even just connecting with magic through the use of nature, just going out into nature. And nature is so magical in itself. You know, a lot of my clients will even be told that if they want to become more powerful or within themselves or connect more with their higher self, just to go in nature for 15 minutes a day. That's all that they have to do. They don't have to do some fancy meditation or anything. Just go into nature for 15 minutes and it will really help them reconnect with their divine essence and become magical again. But I feel like one of the most important aspects of this book is really because it shows just how powerful women were. I mean, of course, men were all powerful, but women were extremely powerful in these ancient cultures. And one of the reasons was because it was understood that the woman could create, especially with her womb space. So there were only women that would get together in this one place. That Avalon was considered to be many different things. But this one place that people called Avalon in the United Kingdom was really powerful because the women would get together and create and send energy through the grid system of this earth up into the cosmos. They could use crystals and create using all the other women, because it creates this like energetic pattern when you're only using women to create something this powerful. The truth about our human bodies has been so hidden from us. So the women that had already gone through menopause were seen as the most powerful. Who knew this? And they would be the leader because their womb was free to create whatever they wanted. They were so revered. They were the ones that were the leaders of any of these sacred ceremonies, and they were the most powerful creator. The women that were still going through their cycles were so incredibly powerful because they would actually use their blood. And I know this gets a little crazy, but this is what was coming through. Blood for manifestation. It would regrow plants. They could put this on themselves and it would change themselves. They could put it on their third eye. It would open people's third eye. I mean, it's that powerful. The truth about our bodies is like it's been so hidden. And they would do these sacred ceremonies where they would be able to like create different things just using this group of women. And it was so cool because as I was looking into this stuff, working on this book about Avalon, it turned out that that was one of the things when it comes to because women were always coming in asking about menopause. You know, they're like, oh, what is this all about? And it turns out that's like a sacred rite of passage where a woman is being kind of forced into alignment with their divine essence. And all the symptoms correlate with what they're hiding from themselves. Like one of these women that was tuning into, into this information under hypnosis was finding out that her hot flashes, they were a result of anger that was deep seated. That was the subconscious anger being burnt off. And the more she released, the less hot flashes she would experience. And it was just anger under the surface, like boiling up. And this other woman realized that like a lot of her issues were when it came to like really feeling like she was using her voice again was being brought to the surface. And so she was having all these issues that they considered to be menopause related, but it wasn't. It was just her divine essence trying to integrate into her body. So interesting. I did ask about men too, because I was like, well, if women have all these powers that we never talk about, what about men? And they said, men hold like the seed of creation too. They're very powerful. They could do things like semen retention, and they have no idea. But if they started cultivating a practice like that, they could use it to manifest anything they wanted to. They could actually open their third eye. They could just develop this amazing practice and use this power. So, the human body is so powerful. That was one thing that I learned while writing this book, that I have in this book, and more in-depth information when it comes to this book. But also just that we're returning to these ancient ways, Oh my gosh, it was so interesting. There's just so much about Avalon and who we really are that I just find so fascinating. I would have never learned this information if this book hadn't been brought into, my awareness, because it gets brought to my awareness through my clients coming in all at the same time, talking about the same things. That's how I write my books. The only reason this book took so long is because my mom is my editor. My mom's an actual editor, so she edits my books, and we do it together. Like, we'll read the book and she'll tell me, how she feels as she's editing it. We had to pause for quite a while because my mom started seeing fairies when she was reading this book. This book is very activating. And my mom is not into this. She's just a regular person, not really into this stuff. But we only got to chapter 4, and she started seeing these like lights out of the corners of her eyes that looked like circles. And so at first it frightened her, because it would only happen when she was working on the book with me and she would see these circles. But she thought, oh, I heard about this before. My retinas are detaching. That's what she thought. So she went to her eye doctor and they freaked out, and they're like, retinas, definitely circles, retinas, that's what they thought. So then she had to do a whole slew of tests. They were like, you're a goner, basically. That's what they told her. And then it turned out she was perfectly fine. And then she realized she's seeing fairies when she's working on the book. So we had to wait a little while till she kind of acclimated and got used to this type of energy, because the book is very powerful, very activating. There's even a spell in there that Merlin brought, or this consciousness that considered himself to be Merlin came through my client under hypnosis that said he had information to share. And I have a spell in there and how people can start to see fairies again when they're ready.
Wow. And so the menopause thing, actually, science is starting to catch up with that. I saw this speaker who he was observing this like pattern within human nature that, science and all of these things have seen, like, fertility and things like that as really like the most like valuable thing around women, right? They go back to like kind of a very biological baseline of like, oh, if everything is about creation and procreation, then women are most like kind of in their most valuable when they're at their peak fertility. But as they observed it more, they're like, well, women now, with all these statistics that we have, live longer than men. And women go through menopause and they spend this extra 20 to 30 years of their life not being able to reproduce. And they were saying that now they're starting to realize that because this is a very important role biologically in the human collective, that a woman surviving all those years without being able to bear a child is actually because this is an important part of the community aspect of human biology. So it's interesting that they're really starting to see the value of women after that time period, when after menopause and after being able to bear children, is so important to the collective.
Wow. Well, I'm 50. Eventually it's going to happen to me, and I'll be the first to tell everyone about it. I'll be the guinea pig.
And another thing, so like you said, like a lot of times, like clients that have like similar things will all come in around the same time and or be drawn to certain practitioners. And I'm very connected to the period issues and women stuff. So like I have my moon book where I created, I think I actually have one here. is
That's
my
right.
my workbook, which is a period tracker, which uses like moon manifestations and to get you back in alignment with connecting with more of your natural cycle to plan your month versus the calendar cycle. And I get so many women, almost all of them are having either period issues, hormonal issues, PCOS, or endometriosis. And it's interesting seeing, I'm interested to see like some of the stuff that comes up in your clients around it. But it's interesting that a lot of these hormonal issues are connected to unprocessed emotions and bottled
Yes.
up emotions that haven't been worked through. And then I asked about the collective level because I get a lot of people who have endometriosis and PCOS. And I'm like, why is this so common? Like, why are so many women having uterine issues, needing hysterect? I also have had quite a few clients that have gotten hysterectomies recently. So it's like all around this womb space, hormonal space, periods. And what's so interesting is when I asked about the collective, they said that this is actually like the first time in a long time in history where women are safe enough to start transmuting these thousands of years of disconnection with this part of ourself and trying to bring us back into harmony with our bodies, and that the pain, these symptoms are actually like calling attention to ancestral wounds that were never like safe enough for them to actually transmute and to process. And when women are going through these things, they're actually kind of clearing those old things. And over time, they can learn to like work with the pain, work with the symptoms, and actually be able to heal themselves of these things without surgery. And then sometimes the hysterectomy thing comes up. Multiple times I've had people talk about that that was the end of the lineage, that almost like they're finishing this wound that has happened throughout, because there's so many things that have happened to women over throughout history that sometimes it is right to do the hysterectomy because it's kind of like the end of this cycle is being kind of offered back and closed.
Oh, I know everything. I mean, there is no all good and all bad. That's what I love about this work. And that's so beautiful. I mean, because somebody could look at that and be like, oh, no, that's terrible that they had the hysterectomy, but not for that person and not for that lineage. It was exactly what was supposed to happen. And it is so true. We are really at the forefront healing our ancestors. I mean, your whole ancestral line is stored in your DNA. And so what you do to heal heals them too. And I've noticed also that a lot of women develop cysts in their uterus or, you know, anywhere like that, sometimes because of guilt. And a lot of people feel guilt stored there, or um, fibroids, especially fibroids, because of guilt from having an abortion. And so
Wow.
that is a big common theme. It's almost like a lot of times if my client has a fibroid, I'll think to myself, I wonder, if they had an abortion and they felt guilty about it. It's really interesting how as women, we've just had the chips stacked against us for so long. Not only have we been made to feel guilty about all these different things, we've been like abused, suppressed, and now I think it's so beautiful that we are stepping into this place of reclamation of our power. Can you imagine how beautiful it will be when all of us women start to realize how powerful we are? And we just embody that, and we embody all these changes, all these things happening to our body, and we see them as a good thing and not taboo and not something you can't talk about.
Right. And in one of these Pleiadian channeled books by Barbara Marciniak, I believe it's in Earth, Keys to the Living Library. And they talk about how, or it might actually be in her book, Bringers of the Dawn, but they talk about how this healing of women is happening. But really, once women get to this empowered point, which we're still finding, because a lot of this, like, feminism and waking up of the female power is very based still around like the oppression and the trauma of it and the fighting back. And But when we really get into like a more empowered place, that it's not about those things that happened, it's not about the oppression, it's not about inequalities and things like that. They said that the healing of men is going to be like that. Like it's going to happen overnight, basically, that once women get it, men step in line right away. So, like a lot of times when we're looking at things on outside of the spiritual, we're looking at it of like a societal level. It's like, oh, men need to change. Men need to this. Men need to heal this. Men need to do this. It's their turn to figure it out and to take this. But really, when you look at it on like the spiritual level, they're going to fall into line as we heal right away. And they're going to be okay. They're going to click right into it.
Oh, I love it. That's so true. And that's so beautiful. I mean, it's an opportunity for us, just like menopause is an opportunity for us to really become our divine self. We have this opportunity right now. We're safer than we've been for so long. And we can really step into this power in a safe way. And I agree. I think it's beautiful what will happen and what is happening to men. You know, that I do these workshops and I've started to notice that there are more and more men coming to them, which is such a beautiful thing, you know, to see. Because it used to just be all women. I mean, you would see maybe one man, but there's more and more coming who want to work on themselves, who want to just, you know, develop all these tools. And it's not just women anymore. It's beautiful.
So, because QHHT was created by Dolores Cannon, I want to ask you about Dolores coming up in some of your sessions. So, I know I've asked you this question once before a long time ago, but not in this form. So, you know, there's a lot of people who claim that Dolores is currently incarnated, that she's this child. People are talking about it on TikTok. What information has come through regarding that when Dolores comes into your sessions?
When I've asked her when under hypnosis, you know, like a really good hypnosis subject who I'm connected with their higher self, one of those very, very clear channels and spoken directly to Dolores, or at least who I believe is Dolores, she said that she's spending a lot of time in the in between right now, that she's helping anybody that asks her. She's helping practitioners, and she's also helping her family as well. And she says she feels like she can do more work right now from this place. She also said that she was not reincarnated. And one of the reasons why is because she really followed and did what she came to do. And so she raised her vibration and frequency tremendously to the point where she could actually go on and be considered an ascended master. So she didn't feel it was necessary to reincarnate as a human, but more necessary to help from the other side.
And is there any information that she has given that like kind of changes or updates or anything like that that was based on her work here?
Oh, I asked that because they said, "What did you feel when you passed?" And she said it was very similar to what she thought. But then I asked, "What was the most shocking thing to you?" And she said, "Just how interconnected everything is and how big everything is. Like how detailed every single thing that you're doing is. Like you go to the grocery store and all those people that you see are so connected in this web. Like it just really is. Like every single thing means something. I mean, you decide to go like out, you know, to the left today instead of to the right. And all these things were so meant to be. Everybody you see, everybody you say hi to is just so interconnected and everything is so big. She was describing like the universe as being like much bigger than all these universes, like just so much bigger than what she grasped.
And what about any information about like, you know, so much of her work was connected to the earth shift and things like that. Has she given any additional insights or time frames or things like that connected to any of that aspect of her work?
So it's funny you asked because I asked her all the stuff. And she said, she can only be my guide. She can't give me information, but she said she did her work. She helps people from the other side, but it's, when I was talking to her, she said, it's my turn to do my work.
Mm.
It's basically what she said in a nutshell. But I felt her. She's come through to me a couple times where I actually knew it was her. It was so wild. Like I was waking up in the morning before speaking at a conference, and another time when I was going to see her family, and I felt her hand like come through and touch my shoulder and just say something like, "This is an exciting day," like right before my alarm went off. And it was so amazing, like just to feel that. Feel like she was with me, because I know this is exciting for her.
Oh, that's so beautiful. And okay, so probably the last thing is kind of still on that topic, which what about things like that have come through in your clients and things connected to, kind of these new earth changes that are happening? Because my personal belief is, a lot of that foundational work that was done by Dolores Cannon and many others about the earth shift was kind of like to anchor in the idea in us, but like the actual way that it is going to play out is a bit different. And we almost needed like an extreme version of it, like implanted so that we could like anchor that energy in. But now I actually feel that it's going to happen in a different way or is going to look very different or play out very different than most of these like prophecies or original teachings were. So what type of stuff has come up for you with earth shift, new earth, 5D, all of those things?
Oh my gosh, yes. And it's even funny because the higher selves have said that we needed information about this just to implement this belief, because ultimately we are the ones creating our reality. And so everything depends on what we believe, basically, because this is like a holographic reality. But what I've had it explained to me, is that there are so many prophecies. I mean, everybody says something different, and there's a reason for that because there's so many potentials. So there's not just one potential right now. So it seems like everybody has their own reality based on what they themselves believe. So one thing you could do is just to cultivate a belief, like challenge your belief system, investigate it. What do you believe this will look like? And that will be the most in line with what it will look like for you. So everybody has a different reality based on their belief system. Literally, your belief system is that powerful. It might be different than someone else's. So we're headed for, or this is a prophecy too, but my clients have been talking about this. We're headed for a nexus point, is what I keep hearing. And it keeps coming up, like something that will shift the perspective globally. And that's all this is it seems to be a shift in perspective. The more you shift your perspective, or the more you become more in alignment with who you really are, the lighter you become, the more you take in less dense energy. You just keep headed for this ascension, basically. You keep growing yourself spiritually, which gives you a lighter sense about you, and you raise your vibration. So we're headed for this nexus point, and then it seems like all the perspectives of all the humans will shift all of a sudden. There's so many potentials. There's one for a solar event. There's one that the comet will go in front of the sun, triggering a solar event. So if the comet's tail triggers a solar event, then it will dismantle our toroidal veil, toroidal field, and everyone will see into all the dimensions at once, because in a sense, we have this filter on our perception, but you share the same space as a lot of other beings. We just don't have the right filter. We just can't perceive them because of the reality that we're fully focused on in our belief system, but they're right in front of you. That will be dismantled. So people would see into all these other dimensions. And if you could imagine like people that just have never even thought about there possibly being other things in the room with them, it will be really overwhelming. People that have already had that implanted belief, like this is a possibility, will do better with it because it won't be such a shock. And that will shift all of our belief systems, and it will splinter into these 3 different timelines, is what I keep hearing. It doesn't seem to change. It just seems to come down to these 3 different timelines that will be very solidified. Like it'll look like this, like the top one will be the most beautiful one, the one where we clean up our oceans and we speak telepathically again. And then the middle one goes down the same trajectory as the other future version of ourselves, one of the gray extraterrestrials. And we just develop our technology thinking, oh, let's just cut out our emotions, and who wants to feel bad? Who wants to like feel a negative emotion ever again? And then we lose our planet or our realm. And then the very bottom timeline ends abruptly, and those souls are just transferred to another earth realm that's still very knee deep in the 3D experience. There's no wrong way to do any of this, and it's not like you have to worry about being on the right timeline, because an aspect of you will be on each one. But the one you're fully focused on right now is the one that you will be focused on and experiencing in your reality the most. So the middle timeline is interesting because there will be a lot of these light workers that are strategically placed in the middle timeline. And I've been told I'm in the middle timeline, strategically placed there to help shift the perspective of people that are still holding fast to wanting to develop themselves just with their technology only, and to just go down that trajectory, to shift them, to show them things like, oh, you can cultivate, belief in yourself. You can harness magic. You can, work with nature again. And all it is a shift in perspective for the people in the middle timeline to bump them up to the highest timeline. That's it, really. And so this highest timeline, I think a lot of people have dreams about it, and they know they're headed for that highest timeline. They just know it. And it seems absolutely, absolutely magical and beautiful.
Wow, that's incredible. And it actually lines up with this book called Mass Dreams of the Future. And it's by Helen Wambach, who actually did very similar work to Dolores. When Dolores was developing this method, Dr. Michael Newton, Brian Weiss, and Helen Wambach, they were all at the same time developing very parallel methods and getting very similar information, even though they were not connected with each other. And in this book, she actually would take groups of like 500 people and move them into the future. And it was to the year like between 2100 and 2200, and I think 2300. She would kind of take them to these different areas and to see, and then would tally up. A lot of people would not be existing on Earth at that time. So not everybody that was moved forward was on Earth and had a life to go to. But the people who did have lives to go to, there was 4 outcomes, and 2 of them were connected to each other, of like 2 different places to be within this. So it's interesting. There was one which they called in that book, this book is from like the 80s, they call it the New Age communities, where there's a fusion of nature and spirituality, but also with some advanced technology. But it was a technology that was nourishing the planet and was like regenerative. And and also like the air was clean, the water was clean. The middle 2 were both connected to each other, and they actually were having to live in domes or on ships. And it was connected to grays. Some people were living on ships with grays, but then also grays were assisting people on Earth because they had to live in domes, because if they went outside the dome, the air was toxic. So they lived in a fully technology-based society where they lived on like pellet food and like powder stuff, and everything was just like so efficient, but so like stripped of any like emotion. And people just had these kind of like jobs that just kind of like worked the system to make this whole system of the dome keep going. And then other people that were on the ships were also working to kind of bring things from other places and nothing could be grown on the planet. And then the other outcome was an apocalyptic destruction timeline. So it's so interesting that these four possible things that people experienced, and two of them were connected to each other because they knew that the people were coming from the ships to bring the food and to bring these like pellets and powders for them to survive on. So that is like so crazy that you had the same exact outcomes.
I've never even heard of her book. That's so cool. Very confirming, because I mean, a lot of people are really tuning into this. You could feel those outcomes. You can. And you could feel which one you are on.
And I think, one of the things, because so much of, me stepping into this space was connected to New Earth, 5D, Earth Shift, Dolores's work, and my opinion has evolved more over the last couple years after kind of like the whole outpour of all of the research. Then as I've like sat more in the information and healed more and changed, kind of like the biggest advice that I have for people who are like interested in this like Earth Shift 5D new timelines, highest timeline is like, what can you do now? It's not like something like, oh, waiting for some event to happen. So it can be this like timeline shift that we split and we get to win and be on the good one and everybody else gets to be on the bad one because they made the wrong decisions. But it's really like, what are the things that you can do now in this life that anchor in the type of future that you want? So is that growing your own food? Is that homeschooling your kid? And that's not right for everybody. It'll be different things for each person of what they want to do. Maybe they want to create a business that teaches new things to adults or teaches new things to children, or just living in their purpose and kind of getting out of this system of working for other people and being disempowered. So it's like these little changes. Maybe it is to create an off-grid community, or maybe it is to do some environmental stuff, and really doing in those practical terms that anchors in a future that in 500 years really could be one of those new earth societies.
Love it. Yeah, there's so many. It's so true. And it's different for each person. And I mean, it's whatever you feel you need to do and drawn to, I think is so important to listen to right now, to just really develop a habit of listening to yourself deeply, finding that time to be quiet and just spend time with yourself and meditate or do things where you're connected with nature in a deeper way too.
Beautiful. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for doing this. It's always such a pleasure to talk to you and hang out with you. And I don't know when I'm seeing you next, but I'm looking forward to it. I don't know if I'm going to any conferences or anything.
Contact in the desert.
I'm deciding if I'm going to go, but I'm more inclined now.
All right. Sounds good.
Well, thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you for everything you do. Make sure that you guys check out her newest book, Hypnotist Journey to Avalon. It is on Audible now, and all of your other books are also available on Audible. So even if you have the physical copy, it is nice to, kind of go over these things in the audio while you're doing stuff. And it like really I feel like activates something new inside of you. So, and also you have your Egypt trips coming up. I don't know if you have any spots left.
I don't. They're completely sold out, but I will be posting about the new trip in 2026 pretty soon. And hopefully you'll come on that.
I would
that
love
would
to.
I'm so excited.
Fun. Okay, well, Sarah, thank you so much. And we'll see you soon.
Sounds good. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to Ultra Minds with JK Ultra, where every Thursday we come out with a new interviewing some of the greatest minds in spirituality, consciousness, aliens, conspiracies, astrology, and so much more. And make sure you check out my Tuesday Night Live every Tuesday night, where I do a live stream and we do a Q&A and we go a deep dive into topics like the simulation theory, shadow work, spiritual bypassing, spiritual gurus turned cult leaders, aliens, my own experiences, and so much more. So make sure you subscribe, put on notifications, and if you would like to support my work, you can also become a subscriber to my Substack, which is $11 a month at jennifercarmody.substack.com. And once a month for our paid subscribers, we do a live event where we do a group hypnosis, a group meditation, or a group manifestation exercise. And thank you so much. Make sure that you subscribe, comment, do all the things, all the YouTube stuff.